What's up, everyone, and welcome to the most positive pop culture podcast in the multiverse, Metalcore Nerds, where each week I have a guest from the podcast or music community, and we talk about the latest and greatest entertainment. I'm your host, Sean Mott, and today we're talking about the career of our guest. Now, it is very fitting with the show, as you will find out. You might know him as the singer of the number 12 Looks Like You, but he's also directed videos for bands like Armor for Sleep, Hot Water Music, and more, and has produced movies that have been on Netflix. Jesse Korman, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
It's a pleasure, man. I do have to say, when I was maybe 15 or 16, I stumbled upon Jesus and Tori with my friend.
As normal teenagers do. Yes, go on.
Yes. And that song blew my fucking mind. As
to try to blow some minds. So yes, it served its purpose.
As a teenager, I stumbled upon Jesus and Tori, and of course the My Sharona cover. Everyone probably knows that. Yeah, I know.
The gateway drug that is a drug that we are just sort of it's a drug, whatever. It's a gateway drug.
Yeah,
I got them for other stuff, and it was honestly meant to just be this like little fun thing that we did as like, oh, let's do the knack. Yeah, this would be fun. And hey, label, just do a couple of pressings of this, and then, whew, boy, did that explode out of control.
Yeah, it's funny how that stuff always happens.
Always.
It's just how it is. But if you're new to Metalcore Nerds, welcome to the show. Thanks for checking us out. And if you're not new, welcome back. I always love to have guys back. But this is how Metalcore Nerds breaks down. Each week, we talk about the latest and greatest in nerd news. Then we go into our now watching section, where we talk about the latest that we'll be watching in theaters and or streaming. And then we go into our main topic, which again is about our guest here. But first things first, we got the Metalcore Nerds Song of the Week. And the Song of the Week this week is a band from upstate New York, from my neck of the woods. This is Guilt and Bloom. The song is called Room 302.
In the woods near Silent Hill, the bodies of 5 men and women were discovered. The police reported that all the murders appeared to be the work of the same perpetrator. They are continuing their investigation. 4 of the victims were found dead at the scene, and the 5th victim, a Miss Eileen Galvin, was transported to St. Jerome's Hospital, where she died a short time later.
Locked up on the inside, but the best words seem to hide. Stuck here, wasting away, no longer counting days. This morning we go home, can't keep on living on. All the time around you take, living despair in your wake. Pull me out of this hole you made. I was so easily locked away. Brothers and hearts growing and afraid. No longer bound by a bleeding stain. Prodigal son, where did we go wrong? Gave you a hand to hold for so long. Dug your grave, light and waste, but still blame us for your mistakes. When it's all said and done, your sacrament will prove to be in vain. You're just a fucking snake, but two-headed serpents are never one and the same. Wearing me out, weighing me down. There was trust once, but it's gone now. Never noticing the lengths we went try and chase. Now we're trapped inside a world that existed, lost in pain. Curse my blood to the prodigal son. Fuck our blood. Fuck the prodigal son.
Again, that was Guilt and Bloom with their new single, Room 302. They just put out a 2-song EP that you can check out right now. Speaking of new music, there's always new music. It seems like it's like new music season at this point. There's so much coming out. So there's this new band on Sharpton Records called The Gloom in the Corner. They just put out a new single. Go check out that single because it is insane. They have a new album coming out in October. It's a concept album. It's super sick. It has guest spots from like everyone you've ever heard of. So go check out The Gloom in the Corner. Also, there's a new Cartel single. It's pretty good. Go check that out. New Spite single. They have a new record coming out very shortly. And this new artist, Futuristic, dropped a new single. And it reminds me a lot of Forever Six Kids, if you guys remember them from the mid 2000s, I guess, pop punk synthy band. Really cool stuff. So if you like what I'm talking about, you like the song of the week, make sure you go check out the Metalcore Nerds pull list, Spotify playlist. All of those songs are on there. You can check them out there and then go listen to their other music. So on to the nerd news. We're going to talk a little pop culture, Jesse.
Okay.
This has been in development for, it seems like, a few years, but we're finally getting the John Wick prequel show, The Continental. It moved from Stars to Peacock, and it's supposed to follow Winston in New York City in 1975 and explore the creation of the Continental and the assassin underworld. It's going to drop in 2023. Are you a John Wick guy?
I am a John Wick guy. Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Interesting. I didn't know that. Wow. Not sure how you feel about it, but okay, go on.
It depends. It could be good. It could be bad. I mean, the intrigue as the John Wick franchise goes along is the more you learn about this whole assassin underworld. Or would you rather have it be a mystery?
No, I'm all about it. The thing that makes the thing that immediately sort of worries me is that you said it's going to come out on Peacock.
Yes.
I'm just trying to think of a show that like I've watched on Peacock that I'm like, oh man, this is so. I mean, think about it. If you were like, oh, it's going to come out on HBO Max, like, of course it's going to be amazing. Yeah. We already know it's going to be, it's going to be that super fast, and they're like, oh man, it's so brutal, like whatever. But Peacock, I don't know. I guess like I don't want to knock it until I see something, but I'm undetermined.
That's a fair assessment, to be honest. I can't really name. I don't even have Peacock really. I had Peacock for a few months because a ton of movies came on. Because Peacock's a universal thing. They have licensed a lot of other movies onto it. So I've watched movies because that's where their home was after they hit theaters, and that's been a cool place to find those movies and everything like that. But as far as original IP, haven't really heard of much. I think there's one with the dude from The Good Place that's out now that I've heard good things, but only from really like podcasters and reviewers, not the normal people, because I don't think many people have Peacock.
Exactly. That's sort of what I'm saying. I think they have that show Dr. Death as well, which I haven't seen, which I've heard good things, but anyways, I don't want to knock it. It's sort of, sort of reminds me of like when you hear about a band who just signed a band that you really like and you love, and they just signed to a label that you're just like, why are they going over there? And you just, your immediate reaction is just like, I'm not sure about that. But they can blow us all away, and that can be what Breaking Bad did to AMC when AMC was just a snooze fest of a channel. And then Breaking Bad turned out to just be one of the best shows of all time, and just like put it back on the map. So, hey, listen,
it's a good point.
Let's see what the John Wick universe is. One of my favorites. I mean, who people who don't like it, I question being their friend. That's all I'm saying.
Same, honestly, because I love Keanu Reeves, and I think John Wick's some of the best stuff he's done.
That's right.
Like ever, I think, at least the most consistent. Because The Matrix is one of my favorite movies of all time. There's a poster right behind me, but the rest of the movies do not live up to the first one, whatsoever. So that's a rabbit hole you can dive deep into way too far. But I love John Wick. Apparently, this is coming before the fourth movie. So, we'll see. That's what they said. I mean, that could change. I have no idea. But
all right. I mean, look, I'm all about. We've all been patiently waiting for part 4. As we all know, there's been scheduling conflicts with the pandemic, and they just keep pushing, trying to maximize the theater time so they can hit big box office numbers. So, been done for quite a while now. So I'm just sort of like, get it out. Come on, like, what are we waiting for? Like, stop already. Like, just put it out there.
Yeah, I think another big thing was the when it got that big push, it was like a year delay. I think it was because of the VFX shortage that's going on in Hollywood right now, and they wanted to make sure, obviously, the VFX was up to par, so that's why they delayed it like a year at that, because it was supposed to come out this year.
Right. I think it was actually supposed to come out. Yeah. It was this year. It was supposed to come out earlier this year. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm stoked for John Wick 4, and I guess I'll maybe sign up for Peacock to watch this Continental series. If I hear it's good.
You don't hear it's good. Peacock, man. We don't owe them anything.
That's a good point.
You know what? Like, if it's good, we'll hear about it, and then we'll get Peacock.
Right.
Prove themselves first. Give us a trailer worthy of a subscription.
Yes, exactly. I like to vet things before I dive into them, so they'll need to earn that. They'll need to earn that $5.
I'm sure that me and you are both in the same boat of, if it looks like something that we're like, maybe this is good, we'll just go over a friend's house who's got some Peacock and watch. Check it.
If that. I might even just skip it.
Right. Might even just skip it. Might even just be like, you know what, going on to John Wick 4. Because that's all we want. Don't give us something we didn't ask for.
Exactly. On to something that I don't know how many people asked for, but apparently a Saw 10 is coming in 2023. Kevin Gruchert, I don't know if I pronounced that right, so sorry. He directed Saw 4 and Saw the Final Chapter. He's coming back to direct this one. And until this came out, I did not know there was 10 movies in the Saw franchise. I did not see the one with Chris Rock because it looked not that great.
Yep.
Yeah. And I heard it wasn't bad, but I didn't hear glowing reviews where I'm like, I'm going to go check this out. Unlike most comics that usually do very well in dramatic roles, even in the trailer, I did not buy Chris Rock in this type of dramatic role. So that was my main thing. I was like, I don't think I'm going to check this out. But Saw 10, it's coming.
Saw 10 for whoever cares, which is probably not many people. I'm not one of those people. I was a big fan of Saw 1. I thought they did a great job with the first Saw. I mean, wow, like amazing. But then when they started getting into this whole, like, I feel like they're down like a metaverse world now. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, you got like Jigsaw and being controlled by a person who's already been dead, and all these. I'm just like, I don't need to keep seeing a new torture device. I'm just like, give me a better story. And then the Chris Rock thing was just like, I'm just like watching the trailer, sitting there, ready to laugh at everything. I'm like, I'm like, oh, he doesn't tell a joke, but that's all I want him to do. It's just like, I'm not sold on. I don't care. I'm
like you said, Saw 1, incredible, so good.
Saw 1, incredible. I agree.
And then it just turned into like a gore porn fest.
It did, and they just started like catering just to their audience. Like, I just don't know like why you hold yourself to that. Like, they're gonna watch it no matter what. So like, try to I think who's doing a pretty good job with it. I don't love the stories. I'm just sort of going with emotions. But American Horror Stories, which is the one with a new story for every single episode. So they started off, it opens up and it ties up nicely and move on. And I just thought that was really cool and something that Saw could have done. They could have just sort of figured out a way to like take that idea and just keep creating something new without having to watch the previous 7 movies.
Yeah, because it just comes and then there's this character from 5 movies ago, and everyone's supposed to go aha, and everyone's like, "Who is that?"
Yeah, exactly. Aha, off.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it'll be a disservice if they do not title this SawX. So we'll see if they at least give us that. I saw some fan posters going around that said SawX, and I was like, cool. I do hope they name it that at least. We'll see if I check this out. I don't really know. It's supposedly coming in 2023 as well, same year as John Wick. So I guess we'll see how this goes.
You posted on that. I won't be going.
I do have this like really fond memory of seeing, I can't remember which one it was, but it was the first R-rated movie I saw in theaters. Like my mom had to go buy the ticket for me because that's how young I was. It's probably 15 or 16 or something. Mm-hmm. I could not remember which one it was. It was one of the 3 or 4 or 5, one of those. But I remember that. And this is kind of a funny story. So a group of our friends all coming to go. Of course, our moms had to buy our tickets. But I think my mom was like, oh, I'll buy tickets for all of you. It doesn't matter. But my one friend came with his mom. And his mom brought him all the way to the mall to be like, you're not going to see this movie. So there's our whole group of friends went. And he had to go home because his mom was like, no, And I was like, damn, dude, that's fucked up. Like, you knew what you were taking her to, and she had to like take him all the way there and then just be like, nah. And I'm like, damn, that's fucked up.
I mean, look, maybe teaching him a bigger lesson that, like, you know, you're not gonna always get what you want there. And maybe he's a super now. Maybe he's really into weird shit.
Nah, he's a pretty normal dude, honestly.
Okay.
That's the kind of the messed up part, because he was a good, like, we're all good kids. He graduated valedictorian. He's an engineer now. Like, there was no need for that.
You know what? Maybe his success comes from his mom taking him there and not filling his brain with super fucked up, disgusting shit. And he's just like, I could have went down that path of a very disturbed person, but I went down the engineering path. Thank you, Mom.
You know, I love that outlook, because I always like to take the positive route, and you just did that. So kudos to you.
Wish him luck. Wish him future good engineering.
I think he's doing. We don't talk often, but when we do, it seems like he's doing pretty well for himself. So
good.
I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him. So last piece of nerd news. This one doesn't stop coming, apparently. So Ezra Miller finally issued an apology, very PR-esque apology, but it needed to happen. Last week, I talked about how WB was reportedly looking at 3 options at the film. The first one was for Ezra to make an apology and then kind of carry on with the movie. The second option was to not include him in the promotion, recast him, move on. And the third one was just scrap the movie entirely, which I don't think they're going to throw $300 million down the drain. So I don't think the third one is an option. It seems like they might be going with option 1. I said on last week, I hope they go with a mixture of option 1 and option 2. Yes, they apologize. That is great. Looks like they're seeking help, which it's very evident that they do need. And I do hope they do get the help and get better from this. But I don't see how they can stay as the Flash, in my opinion. I just don't think it's a good move.
Yeah.
To me. Do you have any thoughts on this whole situation? I know it's real messy and it's been happening for months at this point.
It's a bit taboo to say anything in this regard because I work in the film industry. So, you know, it's all very connected. I think he is kind of just a fucked up dude. Like he's not that different from some other really messed up people, but it's because of the fact that he's representing a huge entity. And that's just the risk that anyone who goes into business with any of these actors are just going to have to face. So like for it to sort of turn into this thing of like, he has to apologize. He has to do this. He has to do that. It's just like, well, I mean, there's a lot of people doing really fucked up things, starting fights and, you know, doing all this stuff. Like, and they're all, you know, none of them are doing like, it's all messed up. And like, of course, him apologizing is, I guess, a step in the right direction. But at the end of the day, he's still just a bad dude doing all that. Like, that's it for me. Like, I'm just like, you know what? Sure. This is how, you know, the world Hollywood does it. They'll issue an apology and I'm really changed. But I mean, it's all a PR stunt. He did it multiple times, and it's kind of fucked up what he did. So like, I wouldn't put up with that dude shit again. Like, I'd be like, man, you should be blacklisted.
Yeah, honestly, unless they do some like, I don't even know how to redeem themselves with this. Like, I have no idea. Same. And that's what I kind of said before the whole report came out that they were entertaining 3 options. I was kind of like, they should just come out and say, Ezra is fired from being the Flash. We will announce a new Flash before the movie as we're ramping up promotion, and there will be a new Flash moving forward. It already seemed like the movie was going to be a sort of soft reboot for the DCEU to launch them into the future, whatever. So hopefully they still do that, because here's the thing, though, because it's like a lot of people are like, who's going to go see this movie? And I'm like, guys, we live in this bubble of like pop culture obsession. I was like, the normal person probably doesn't even know this shit is happening, to be perfectly honest. Like, I even brought up, people are like, who would see this movie? I have this awesome Facebook group where we post all about, you know, memes, nerd news, all that stuff, new music, everything. And someone's like, who would go see this movie? I was like, well, people went and saw Murder on the Nile and Armie Hammer was in it. And that dude is a cannibal.
He is cannibal.
He's like, what? And I was like, yeah, you didn't know about that? I was like, it's the same thing. I was like, you know, not everyone knows about all of this stuff. Right. Like, if I go ask my mom, have you heard about the Ezra Miller stuff? She'd probably say no.
Yeah, very true.
So it's this. It doesn't mean that they don't need to do these things and that they shouldn't fire him, because like I said, I do think they should fire him. But the whole of like, this movie is going to bomb, and I'm like, I don't think so.
I absolutely do not think it's going to bomb. I think the majority of America, like you just said, we're in this bubble, but the majority of America, they don't care. Like they just don't care. And to be honest, in the rest of the world, they really don't care.
No.
You know, there's people here who have some very, very bad things attached to them, but you know, go over to Europe or Asia, they don't give a fuck. Like they are as big as they ever were, and they're like nothing here. So you know, again, I'm happy that like it's becoming real news, and people like Ezra who are doing these sort of things are being outed as opposed to being swept under the rug. I think that is super, super, super important in our industry, because it's just been, people have been getting away with way too many things for a long time. So it tells people like, look, you want to fuck around, like you're going to find out what happens. And I back that a lot.
Yeah, me too. There definitely should be consequences for people doing really fucked up shit. I know it's a crazy concept. But
it happens for the rest of the world, but for some reason in certain entertainment industries, it's just like, I didn't see anything. That wasn't me.
Yeah, I definitely echo that sentiment, that I'm glad that stuff like this is getting consequences and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's for sure. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks, coming months of this whole situation, and what Warner Brothers Discovery decides to do. So moving on to our now watching section, what we've been watching in the past week or so. So Jesse, lay it on me. What have you been watching?
Shit. God, I watch a lot of trash. I'll say that right now.
We all do. We all do.
So, God, this might be a little premature to say. I wonder if I should say. Well, I guess I'm always a big fan of all the A24 stuff, as as they just keep continuing to knock it out of the park. So I watched recently Men. I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once probably 4 times. I've been watching just to get a little bit up to speed with all the like American Horror Story stuff. It's a bit cheesy for me, but I still like to watch it. It's still entertaining in a way. It's definitely for me like what not to do. Like I appreciate it, but it's definitely a what not to do in that regard. And you know, I'm working on a few very important projects. So because of what I do in my work life, it sort of echoes what I put onto the screen to watch, because just like anything else, we want to sort of like get influence. And I've been watching 2 very specific kinds of things. I've been watching a lot of sci-fi, thriller, highly elevated, highly conceptual films, and then I've been watching documentaries that are very moving and shot very cinematic and tell really great stories. 2 very different kinds of things. So, I do that for research, so I've been going down that rabbit quite a bit.
So for this week, I've been watching The Terminalist, Chris Pratt in Amazon. Very paranoia-driven action thriller. I'm only a few episodes in, but it's really cool so far. I'm cool. very much digging that. Right. I just started. You talked about Breaking Bad. I just started Better Call Saul. I've never watched it.
How is it?
Which I love Breaking Bad. So I'm only 4 episodes in, but it's really good. A ton of my friends were like, you have to wait until like halfway through season 1 for it to get good, and I'm already like, this is already good. So I was like, if it only gets better, then I'm way on board.
What was his name again?
Bob Odenkirk.
No. His character name in the first,
like Jimmy McGill.
Right. Okay, got it. Yeah. I did watch the first season. And I'm remembering it now because it was so long ago. It was solid. It was really good.
So now that it's over, I'm just gonna rip it and see how it goes.
Yeah, great.
In between the new things that are coming out, it'll be my fallback show of when there's a break between things.
I do remember another show that I completely spaced on that as we were sort of talking. Severance. Have you seen it?
Dude, so good. Holy shit, that show.
Good. Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that. Ben Stiller's a director. I think he's always done such a great job. I think they could have went really dark in a Black Mirror sort of style if they wanted to, but they decided to keep it a bit more surface and a bit ominous, but not leaning too heavy into the darkness, which I really like that direction a lot. And obviously great twists, great. Oh, I loved it. I loved everything about it.
I cannot wait for season 2. The way season 1 ends, I'm like, give me more now.
I couldn't believe it ended just like that, and I was so upset about it. I was like, why did it just end just like that? But yeah.
They knew what they were doing.
They knew exactly what they were doing. Now I'm talking about it, telling everyone to watch it. So yes, good job on Severance.
Same thing. I watched that like a month or two ago, and I didn't have Apple TV for a while, but I signed back up for it. A lot of people told me to watch Severance. I watched it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
It.
Yeah, that Apple TV has some fucking bangers.
Yeah,
people are sleeping on.
It's so funny you say that because we are actively pitching a TV show right now. One of the things that we were talking about was Apple is really good at the incredible, prestigious, high quality shows, but for some reason they're not at that level of the notoriety for you just don't hear about them. Whereas you flip it to like a Hulu. Everyone knows Hulu. They're sort of hit or miss. They're not really great, not bad, but everyone knows Hulu. Everyone obviously knows Netflix. But Apple TV is that like silent killer that just pumps out great content, but just not everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, speaking of Hulu, the last thing I'm watching, so I got early access to the Mike Tyson show. It's like a biopic sort of series. I saw the first 5 episodes, and I will say the Hulu movies can range in like, oh, that was okay, or oh, wow, that was really good and surprising. I mean, Prey was fucking excellent, and that was a Hulu drop. Incredible. Everything else has been kind of, oh, that was fine, to, oh, that was pretty good.
I agree.
But there's TV series as of late have been fucking killer.
Yeah.
Like Pam and Tommy, The Bear was phenomenal. So this one started out, so it's very meta. Very self-referential. It's him basically at like a tell-all like comedy stand-up show telling his story. So it's like present day Mike Tyson, the actor playing Mike Tyson, telling his story through when he was a kid. And he went through a lot of fucked up shit, and they kind of tell it through like a meta funny lens in a way, not too overly funny, but definitely kind of, padding the blow of the fucked up shit that's happening.
Right.
And it goes through his like young success and everything like that. And like the first 4 episodes, I was like, this is pretty good. I'm not going to say this is amazing. It didn't grip me kind of like Pam and Tommy gripped me. But similar to Pam and Tommy, once you get to episode 5, I can tell why they went to 5 for these screeners, is that 5 takes such a dramatic shift in the story.
Right.
That's what hooked me. And that's what Pam and Tommy did too. It's like super kind of ridiculous in the beginning. And then it turns into this really serious, amazing drama. Yeah. And I'm hoping that's what the rest of this series does, because 5 is such a dramatic shift. If you check out the show, which I do recommend you do, at least to get to episode 5 and see how the series pans out.
Okay.
Is check it out, and it's well done. I was never like huge in Mike Tyson, always knew who he was. He was a part of DX. I remember that because I love wrestling. He was actually involved with some AEW stuff like a year or 2 ago, like very briefly. Yeah. So I've always known about Mike Tyson, but learning more about, you feel bad for him because he has gone through some really fucked up shit, but then he also does some insanely fucked up shit. So
I know some of the stories that he has done some fucked up shit himself. So
I would say check it out. It starts on August 25th. It's a fast watch. It's only 30-minute episodes. So it's a real easy watch. You're not trying to dedicate a ton of time to it, even if you're just trying to feel it out. So I suggest Mike on Hulu. August 25th is coming out. So let's get to you, Jesse. I want to know your story here. So obviously, you work in the entertainment industry, which is amazing. I think that's incredible. It's one thing that I only know very minimal about. Film and TV making is so mind-blowing to me that it even exists, because it's just such a wonderful thing. But what got you into like pop culture in the beginning? Like as you were a kid, what were you into that kind of got you into this stuff?
I mean, I think just like anybody else, and the entertainment of movies, just like the TV shows that we're on as kids, and just sort of the same old classic story of a kid growing up watching a show that he loves, whether for me it was Pee-wee's Playhouse, you know, that was like
Yeah.
one of my big ones. And then, you know, going into that world of the Edward Scissorhands, and then watching, you know, people like Michael Jackson's music videos and Moonwalker on screen. And then, you know, it's just like these early memories in Twilight Zone. And it's like all these sort of things, just it's almost like that, like the like flip through channel sort of like just constant over and over and over, and just sort of be like, man, all of this, everything that's coming on TV is incredible. Like, why am I so addicted? And it's still something that I think we can, to this day, right now, still say that our culture is still obsessed with, you know? So like,
Yeah.
it's just there's something really fascinating about being able to see these moving images telling us a story on screen. Is very captivating, you know? I think that that's in our DNA. Like, we've only gotten here as human beings because over thousands and hundreds of thousands of years, we told stories to each other. We learned from those stories. And, you know, don't eat those berries because they're going to kill you. Okay, well, now I'm going to live a little bit longer because that guy told me. It's these stories that kept sort of helping us grow as humans. So I think we're inherently drawn to these digital stories that have always been on screen, because we're like, we're learning, even if we aren't being told like this is the color green, even if we're not being told what that is, we're learning something new, or we're being entertained, and we're sort of, it's absorbing into us. And so for me, I just, as a kid, I was like, I love this shit. Like, I love music after being obsessed with Michael Jackson and watching Goonies and Monster Squad and like just all these bangers. I was just addicted to movies like crazy, and Hook, and just me and my cousins and my brothers and my sisters all pretending to be different characters in all these movies. And, you know, it was just like, I was just like, oh my God. And that's sort of how I became, you know, really obsessed with it. I just overly consumed all of it. And I was never good at academics. I'm a high school dropout. You know, I hated school more than anything. And all I wanted to do is sort of like keep being drawn to entertainment, whether it was music, movies, TV shows. I just needed it so much. And I just always felt like I was going to be in that world. So to me, being in high school, being, you know, 15, 16, I was like, well, I know I'm not going to do any of this shit. So like, what am I even wasting my time? So I just, you know, go and drop out and start a band. Yeah, that's really where it all started.
Yeah, that's awesome, and such a beautiful way to look at pop culture. It's kind of the way I like to look at it as well. As, you know, you're seeing these different stories told, and like the magic of storytelling is being able to relate to it or learn something new from it, or, you know, seeing something that's totally different, not used to your life, but also still relating to some bits and pieces of it. And that's like my favorite thing. It's like I started playing video games, and the video games I started playing were the ones that they're like story-based games. So like you're basically playing a movie. You know, like The Last of Us is like one of my favorite things of all time, because you're literally playing a movie. Right. That lasts like days, you know, and stuff like that. So yeah, I can completely understand that, wanting to do that. So what made you go from, you know, starting a band to directing music videos to producing film? How did that journey happen? Because this is probably the most thing I'm interested in, is how did all of that happen?
It's a little bit of a layered answer.
It makes sense.
Because they are all in very important components to ultimately ending here. Every single decision of my life every single one has put me where I am. And if one of these ingredients didn't go into the full recipe, I'd be, you know, a burnt duck or whatever the fuck it is. I just feel like from the band with Number 12, being a singer at 17 years old, saying like, fuck it, I'm starting a band. And like, we never had an ambition to being the biggest band at all. We never had any ambition to being a big band at all. It was just more like, we just knew we liked this kind of like heavy grind, screamo music. And that was what we loved. So we started doing that during the process of doing Number 12 for the next decade of my life, and touring around the world and playing thousands of shows. That mentality of doing all that was it was very DIY. So as we know, like with anything, you want to do something yourself, you got to do it on your own. So like that was the Number 12 mentality with everything. We did everything on our own, did our merch designs. We did all of our album stuff. We like obviously wrote our own songs. We bought our own bands. We toured on our own. So it was a lot, and we made a lot of creative decisions on our own. And then so with that knowledge, I started managing bands, because I felt like I had this world of knowledge, started working with bands, and I started applying that same thing. And then it started like turning, being DIY, saying, hey, you can take full control. You don't need anyone else for this. Like, I was producing and recording and engineering all the early Number 12 stuff and doing all of our album artwork. I fell into the world of photography. And again, I was always creating, doing graphic design and doing performance. Photography was just another tool for creating. So I would still, to this day, never call myself a photographer, but like, I just look at it as, well, I mean, I know how to take a photo that I think is good. It's just another tool. And so again, it's DIY, like do it yourself. Like, I want to get this image on a poster. Well, okay, let me do it and just do all that. And then jumping into the film world, I had been approached by a producer, Jordan Levine, through a mutual multi-billionaire investor who kept trying to buy things that I was involved in, mobile apps and the bands I was working with. And he's like, and I didn't really need money. He's like, do you want to get involved with films? I've got this great producer, family friend. He's moving back to New York, Jordan Levine. I'm like, sure, movies, why not? Something I haven't done before. Okay, meet up with Jordan. And he's like, I'm going to kickstart this thing, Yale Productions. And he's like, you do photography. I probably can't afford you to pay your full rate, but why don't we start working on scripts together and I'll hire you as my photographer and you can be the set photographer and we'll do this together. And next thing you know, I mean, Yale Productions, maybe almost a decade in now, I mean, from growing from like the couple of us that were there to where, 20 people deep now. And I mean, I've done probably 25 to 30 films at this point. We've it sort of just created this world of film producing that I've grown into. And so much of everything that I learned in the past of doing things on your own and sort of still like having that vision, I've always had the creative vision of all these different things and seeing how that's all made and then saying, hey guys, I see what you're going for, but on the last movie that I was on, I noticed these guys are doing a lot better because they cut out this person. I think you should hire this person, put them on here, save money here because you can put more money there. So I learned how to sort of creatively sort of produce people on the team of the film crews and be more efficient. Obviously that naturally led to going back to be like, oh man, I still love music though. I am doing a lot of movies. And so I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to start Number 12 back up. So 7 years ago, I started Number 12 back up. I was like, I'm going to direct our video because I know what I'm doing. And I started directing that. And then I got the call from Juliana Thier, my oldest friend, Brett Detter. He's like, I want you to direct our music video. I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay. And then that led into that snowballed and got into the whole doing all their videos and then getting hit up by Can't Swim and Hot Water Music and Armor for Sleep. And it just kept like going, and to the point where me and this editor animator, Jimmy Lasers, his Laser Lab, I was like, we were doing all this stuff together because he did the Number 12 stuff with me. I was like, dude, we're kind of really busy. Do you want to start a production company together, like just music videos? So we started Napalm Rainbow, which is me and Jimmy, and we sort of outsource a lot of the teams. And yeah, in our short span of this career, I mean, man, we've really went hard at all these things. Yeah. And we're turning down some artists that I'm just like, I can't believe we're turning down this band. I was like, what are we doing? But like, you have to prioritize. So yeah, it's been a wild journey.
And that's incredible. It's a testament to everyone who thinks that DIY doesn't work, because it does. It really does. Yeah. Like I started this podcast 2 years ago on just a whim of, I used to be a booking agent. I'm also a graphic designer, and that's what I do now full time. And most of my clients are music based, especially now. And, when the pandemic hit, I didn't really have a job, so right. For this podcast, like I'm doing things, interviewing people, getting albums to review, TV shows to review that I never, when I started this, ever thought it was ever going to happen. And it's surreal to me. Like, honestly, it's completely surreal. And I'm so thankful for it. Like, it's not even like, oh, check out all this cool stuff I'm doing. It's like, no, like, this is crazy to me that I'm able to do this. And it's like, almost seems like similar to what you did. You're just like, yeah, let's do this stuff. And then it starts happening and you're like, oh, holy shit, this is real. Like this shit is really happening. And that's amazing. It's like Yeah, it's such a cool thing to hear. And it's funny, I'm a massive Armor for Sleep fan. Loved them since I was a kid. My wife and I, one of our first like trips as like a couple was to see the 10-year anniversary tour of What to Do When You're Dead. Love that band. So when they put out new music, I was watching the video. I was like, man, this video is really cool. And I had no idea. That's not even me like saying like, oh, sick video. I had no idea that you directed it. And so this all got set up and he's like, oh yeah, here's a bunch of videos they've directed. I was like, oh wow, I watched that video like a week ago. That was a cool video because music videos are almost like a lost art nowadays. Some are insanely cool. I just saw this new one for Chelsea Grin is like pretty insane. It's like this crazy sci-fi one.
Yeah, I saw a quick snippet of that. I was like, whoa, I will watch this later because that little clip I saw was pretty sick.
Yeah, and that was insane. A bunch of the Vatican ones were kind of similar. This like crazy sci-fi, almost Matrix-like music videos. So there's definitely some really cool stuff out there. But a lot of it's just dudes playing in a room, which is fine. But like I said, it's kind of a lost art.
It's fine. It's a music video. I guess if you get what you pay for, I guess it's. No one's really paying for music, so you're going to sort of get what you pay for.
True.
That's all I'm saying.
That's very true. But that's amazing. That's such a very cool story to how you're involved with that. And yeah, like I said, before we got into this, I had no idea that you did all this stuff. I've known Number 12 like half of my life at this point, and I had no idea you did any of this stuff. And just to hear about how this happened was so cool.
Thanks, man.
So very dope. And like Yale Productions is like legit as hell. You've done some like really crazy shit.
Yeah. I also agree. I'm sort of like, what the fuck am I doing here? I feel like I'm going to forever live in imposter syndrome. It's like, I'll probably have that on my grave is like imposter. It's like, I just always feel like, what did I do to get here? It's crazy.
Yeah. At any level, it's so hard to tackle as a human being, I think, because I have those thoughts all the time. I'm like, how am I doing this stuff? I'm just a dude.
Well, I mean, it's funny because like I think I remember hearing a podcast at some point, and it was I feel like it was some amazing director that I loved, and I can't remember who it was, but I just remember they were saying that imposter syndrome never goes away, and I just thought that was it really resonated with me because I asked myself that a lot. I'm like, will this feeling ever go away? But like, what would make that go away? It's like, you're never gonna like. Do you have to be handed a diploma that says you are officially this? It's like how does that go away? So I think if anything, it's sort of. I think if anything, that imposter syndrome makes us do our best work because we're trying to constantly outdo what we did last because we want to prove it more and more and more. I know that's how it is for me. So.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me too. I was like, all these cool things are coming my way. I was like, I'm going to do my best to put out the best show possible and, give people the things that I've said nice about this. I'm going to continue to do them and only try to make them better. That's the way I've been looking at it. And any of my friends that have the same feelings, I was like, dude, you just got to keep doing your best. And that's all you can do. And it's exactly what you said. It's like, you just got to keep going and just don't let it. It's going to bother you, but you can't let it defeat you, I guess is the biggest thing.
Exactly.
So I want to talk about what you have coming up or are working on that's already coming out. So I watched this little animated short called Little Thrashers, and the premise behind it is a pretty dope thing. So can you let the people know what Little Thrashers is?
Little Thrashers is a universe of little heavy metal monsters. And it actually derives from Lizzie Wilding. That's our main sort of pilot show that we created. Lizzie and her band Elder Sage. They're a bunch of heavy metal monsters. And they're these girls who just write songs that are sort of happening in their own sort of lives and sort of things that happen with them. Little Thrashers is the world. That's the universe that we're living in. So they are in the world of Little Thrashers. They all go to the venue Catacombs and they all see the Teeny Meanies play or Elder Sage and stuff like that. And so Little Thrashers, we figured what we wanted to do with these animated sort of heavy metal creatures was we would sort of sell these characters as NFTs so that we can accumulate some money to fund our future episodes. And that's sort of like goes back to creative producing is you want a result but we all know you need finances to get there, and we all know
Yep.
you keep asking. And that's what we do all day for, films. But I was like, you know what, I want to go about it with a new way. So we partnered with Flux 88, and they were just, let's get some finances in so we can use that money to create these next episodes. So the Little Thrashers are just, they're these badass little monsters, and we basically are in the middle of creating the first official episode of Lizzie. So the pilot episode that we have out now we call it episode 0, kind of. So
Yes.
the one that's coming out right now, or the one that we're working on, I probably shouldn't reveal the cast yet, but I will say it is it is next level, because we're even surprising ourselves with the people that we got on board. I'm like how did we just get this person on board? How do we get that on board? And so that is going to be the next thing that we're going to do. And our goal is to sort of, as anyone, like podcast, TV show, whatever, we want it to grow. We want to have a series picked up. We want people to sort of like find it. We want to be, hopefully have enough money to make more of these. So that's where we're at with our Little Thrashers.
Awesome. On to another one of your upcoming projects, which is really exciting for the people involved with it. And I think it might blow people's minds of the people involved with it. But Dreambox. So you have this movie you're working on with Ben from Armor Sleep and Brett from Juliana Theory, which is really cool. So tell us about Dreambox and what it is and what people can do to be a part of it.
So Dreambox is a feature film, and it is going to be a film that I'm directing. It's a sci-fi thriller drama, very much in the vein of Ex Machina meets Black Mirror, Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind. And it's an incredible journey of, a world where you can potentially just be like, I'm over this world. I'm going to go to Dreambox, and I'm going to live out the rest of my life and get hooked up to a system to where you can live in your most incredible sort of fantasy for the rest of your life till the end of your days. And we basically follow a story of someone who has run out of funds in the middle of their sort of journey. So they sort of started living this fictional life, lived the way that they probably lived in their real life, took things for granted where it was just, a bit of an asshole. And then basically when they got unplugged, they're trying to do everything that they can to get back into there and sort of realize what they missed out on. And they took a lot of things for granted. So they're trying to sort of like clean up their mess, but also like say like just it's a classic hero story in a way, trying to show like, oh, like I need to make things right. Ben wrote the story, it's his script, he's a screenplay writer, and I'm coming on board as a director and writer. Brett would come on board as the film composer, and basically are in the world of making a movie, but we don't have a studio who's just going to give us money to just money. I mean, you probably know someone, you may even be someone, everybody knows somebody with a script. I mean, let's just be
yeah.
A script. Like, it's not that far to find someone who has a script. There's a million scripts out there, but the ones that get made, that's the things that separate from being a movie on screen to just living in the world of scripts. So with Yale, one thing that I've learned a lot of is how to creatively sort of finance some things. But what this whole venture was with Flux 88 and this whole Dreambox thing was to sort of not so much say, put up a GoFundMe page saying, oh, we need to make a movie. It's like, we're not asking to just like give us money. We're saying, hey, participate in this. And yes, of course, it's going to be through this NFT that you sort of hold as like an executive pass 1, pass 2, pass 3, different levels. We're saying get involved with this so you can be part of the whole filmmaking process. So all of the money that we are going to be making from your funds, we're going to actually put into making the movie. And you get to be part of the journey. So we'll be giving away different perks, a lot of the filmmaking process, depending. There's stuff that at that first level that is just sort of like a lot of following the process and a lot of hearing how we're going through all of it. And then the top levels are people who want to, put in a significant amount of money because they're like, wow, there's real people involved. And I really want to make this happen. And I've always wanted to be involved with movies. So this looks perfect. I'm going to go on Bitsky and I'm going to buy one. And it's as simple as something like that. And all of a sudden, depending on their level, at that high level, we would potentially even have them come on board as one of the extras in the film when we get into production, or have their name featured in the documentary or in the credits, or have a, creatively plug in one of their names. And like I had this one idea, or we had this one idea is one of the patients, like there's a scene where they're reading the patients, and we can sort of be going down the list of names, and they're trying to find the one guy, Will, and they see like all these other people who participated in there.
Yeah.
So think about just like how unbelievably cool that all is. And I mean, I have so many friends who, you know, from the town that I grew up in, who are like, how can I get involved? Like, I want to be in a movie. I want to do this. Like, there isn't a more black and white sort of solution than this. Is like, be part of this project, help us fund it, and you can be part of it. So that's the Dreambox universe.
Yeah, and that's really cool. The way that this is involving you in the process of the movie and being completely involved with the movie, maybe even being a part of the movie, is super cool. And just the premise of this movie sounds so dope. I'm so stoked. As you can tell, I love sci-fi movies. Eternal Sunshine is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, I love that movie to no ends. Love that movie so much. So I'm stoked to watch this whenever it comes out. Like, I am so unbelievably stoked to see this story, because I'm a sucker for a sci-fi story.
And you're a fan of Armor, so this comes straight from the mind of Ben. It's all his.
Yeah.
So, you know, he really killed it with this script.
Yeah, which is awesome. I'm stoked to see more of it once it gets to that point. So last thing before we get out of here, what's next for number 12? What's number 12 got going on coming up?
Number 12 is finishing up new songs. Yeah,
Sick.
God, I don't want to say anything prematurely. There's so much good stuff that is happening, but like, I'm always so afraid, because I'm like, oh God, I have to time it right.
Yeah.
But with number 12, our thing as of lately is just like, we have to always keep reinventing ourselves, I guess, in a way, you know. We've been doing this since we were 17 years old. I'm 38 now. And so this next batch of songs that we're doing, I feel like whoever's on the ride for number 12, they're not going to be surprised at what we're going to be doing. They're going to be like, of course, this is number 12. But I think it's going to be, I'm not going to say it's a departure from what we've been doing. It's not similar to what we've been doing, which I think is really exciting. It's about expressing your sort of new self. And number 12 is always that anyways. We're always just fucking weird. So like, again, I don't think we're going to hear it and be like, oh, I didn't expect that. Like, no one really expects anything that we're doing. So we're in the middle of demoing all the stuff. And then I probably want to say, like, it's, you know, August now. I want to say within the next couple months, we'll be going in the studio to laying it all down and then building up into the campaign of the of what is coming.
Cool. Stoked to hear some new number 12. So I'll definitely be on the lookout for that. Is there anything else you want to promote?
Not really. I guess I would promote people to be happy.
I like that.
Be happy. Do what you fucking want. Unless you're Armie Hammer or Ezra Miller. Don't fucking do
Don't do what you want. Yeah.
Don't do that shit. Do the opposite of that. And that's what I'll.
Yeah, I guess I'll add to that. If there's something you love and you really want to do it. Bet on yourself and do it. Seriously. Even if you fail, at least you tried. But if you succeed, it's the best feeling in the fucking world. So if there's something you're really passionate about doing that you really want to do, just fucking do it.
Don't wait. Just fucking do it.
Just do it. So, Jesse, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come chat some nerd stuff. Tell me about what you're working on. Tell us your story. It was amazing to hear, honestly. Seriously, it was amazing to hear.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And it was a pleasure, and this was fun. I just feel like I watched my life flash before my eyes.
Good.
So yes, thank you very much for having me.
Good. That was mostly the goal, so I'm glad I succeeded.
Now I can die.
Awesome, guys. Yes, thank you so much for checking out this episode. As always, go to metalcorners.com. You can find our merch there. You can find all our links there. And if you want to follow me on my personal, just Sean Xma on Instagram and Twitter. And until next time, see you later, nerds.